Over the last couple months, we have been watching the exposure to ROUSD continue to expand more and more throughout the markets, and we just continue to get updates like this one from Bybit. That's right, the largest crypto exchange out there, essentially, right next to Binance. ROUSD is officially listed on Bybit Spot with Ripple. Available trading pairs: ROUSD, USDT, Bitcoin, ROUSD, Ethereum, ROUSD, XRP, ROUSD, and also MNT, ROUSD. Availability is dependent on jurisdiction as well, but this is very good to see because we are starting to witness ROUSD exposure really building and really growing. I mean, we already have been focused on, Ripple and the moves that Ripple have been making really over the last couple weeks as well. And majority of them do pertain back to ROUSD exposure, especially through tokenization efforts, major developments with institutional players as well. And that's really leading us to watch ROUSD closely in this space, because if Ripple is going to target that top 5 stablecoin by the end of the year, they've been really targeting that goal for quite some time. If they want to make sure that they are successful on that, they really need to kick this into overdrive. Now, talking about that, we have over here 8 million ROUSD minted, another 3 million ROUSD minted, and then 40 million ROUSD minted. This all happened on the 26th. This is over 50 million ROUSD in a single day. What's crazy about this is we are now witnessing ROUSD value hitting almost $800 million. But that's not the biggest thing. Check out that monthly transfer volume. Up 17% in the last 30 days, 4.25 billion. We are watching some significant growth happening right now around ROUSD. And talking about stablecoins, by the way, if we're looking at the top 5 just on this list, ROUSD has a lot of work to do, because top 5, $4.6 billion. So again, we're watching ROUSD very closely. Will it become a top 5 stablecoin by the end of the year? It's not looking as though it's going to happen, but hey, anything can happen in this space. We have witnessed some crazy moves happen in this space in a very short amount of time. So I'm not writing off the idea that ROUSD, can't become a top 5 stablecoin by the end of the year. Now, beyond this, let's go back in time to June, because again, back in June, there was a post regarding Ripple's UK policy summit. Now, the main focus of this was to build a growth-driven framework, lead on global standards, advance stablecoin adoption, and tackle tokenization barriers. I recently talked about some of the connections between Ripple and the UK, mainly because of just looking at what's been happening around the world when it comes back to stablecoins. Because again, like the main thing right now is stablecoin adoption, stablecoin growth, because stablecoins just continue to get adopted in the US. Our government also just continues to break down every single obstacle around stablecoins. So when we think about stablecoins, we're looking at all of these other nations. Now, the UK is very, very specific because they have a massive hand to play in the FX market. The foreign exchange market is a $7.5 trillion per day market. However, 5.4 trillion of that is all done in the UK. This is why the UK pushing for stablecoin regulations, advancing stablecoin regulations, and ultimately adopting stablecoins themselves is a big deal. Now, Ripple seems to be really a big player in this, especially looking back at June with this policy summit, but also on top of that, they're open roles. They have 10 job openings in the UK. Right off the rip, we have institutional DeFi. This is from Ripple X, right? If we're looking at the London announcement, here we have it. Again, just looking at the role overview, okay? In this role, you'll own the full institutional partnership lifecycle from sourcing and closing high-value deals to activating and scaling them into measurable impact on the XRP ledger. This is all based around asset managers, tokenization platforms, and stablecoin issuers, while partnering cross-functionality to convert strategic intent into real-world usage, transaction volume, and ecosystem growth. Look at this. Institutional DeFi, all based around the XRP ledger, on top of locking in major players like asset managers, tokenization platforms, and stablecoin providers, all based around the XRP ledger. This role itself is all based around the XRP ledger, and this is in the UK. Beyond that, we have a lot of engineering, we have legal, we have product and delivery, and then again, we have Ripple X. Most of everything around Ripple X is going to pertain back to the XRP ledger and XRP, but then we also have sales. Now, you might be asking me, well, Nick, why are you bringing all of this up? Well, you guys already know that I went over this post in a previous video. This is coming from the UK CEO and Managing Director in the UK and Europe at Ripple, Casey Craddock. Now, she put out a post regarding this roundtable discussion that was happening in the UK, and this included the UK and the US having some sort of relationship where they are cooperating on making sure that crypto is getting adopted in both of these nations, and how we can lead around this technology, make sure that this technology does become a huge piece of our global financial system. And essentially that's what this roundtable discussion was. Now, of course, Ripple was there. And what's funny about it is, Ripple was a key player in this. In fact, Ripple was such a big key player here that they launched a huge initiative. That initiative is this. So we have earlier this week, I posted about the Downing Street Roundtable during President Trump's state visit to the UK that I attended alongside representatives from the UK and the US governments and financial and crypto industries. This meeting was the precursor to the announcement of the UK and US Transatlantic Task Force for Markets of the Future, an important initiative which will build on the deep and enduring partnership between the UK and the US in financial services. The new task force will lead to closer cooperation between the US and the UK on digital assets, creating an opportunity to align on stablecoins, tokenization, and cross-border market access, as well as setting a template for international cooperation in our industry. How crazy is this? A blockchain company being a big leader behind this? As a US headquartered company with a major presence in the UK, Ripple is well placed to leverage its strong transatlantic footprint to further drive US-UK tech innovation, and we are looking forward to contributing to the work of the task force. Again, I want to stress the fact that this is a blockchain-based company, and they are essentially leading the pack with this. Make it make sense. Tell me that Ripple isn't on a completely different level. Tell me that Ripple is not operating outside of the scope of a blockchain-based company, because again, to me, this seems as though Ripple is becoming crucial infrastructure, that they are a crucial player in this new world that's really, I would say, developing around us, because again, we're starting to see crypto adoption heating up, stablecoin adoption heating up, tokenization heating up. But it seems as though Ripple is becoming a huge enabler and accelerator behind this. let's go and look at the announcement. So here we have what the UK-US Transatlantic Task Force for Markets of the Future means for the crypto industry. So right off the rip, we do have that the enduring partnership between both the UK and the US in financial services has long defined global markets. Now this deep and historic collaboration is set to be further enhanced and strengthened by the premise of digital assets. Underpinning this is the announcement of the Transatlantic Task Force for Markets of the Future earlier this week, which provides an opportunity to align on stablecoins tokenization and cross-border market access. This is a significant milestone. The UK has a strong history of supporting multilateralism and has an opportunity to lead not just with its domestic policies, but in driving international cooperation with other leading jurisdictions, such as the US. The task force is expected to deliver recommendations within 180 days via the UK-US Financial Regulatory Working Group, providing a clear timeline for progress. Now, we have down here, blockchain technology is inherently global and by its nature transcends borders. There is a huge opportunity for closer cooperation between the US and the UK on digital assets. The new Transatlantic Task Force represents the first such agreement in our industry globally and has the potential to set a template for international crypto cooperation. According to the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, 91% of central banks surveyed are now exploring digital currencies or stablecoins, underscoring the urgency of cross-border regulatory frameworks that avoid fragmentation. And of course, yes, the UK has a huge opportunity here. So the UK has all the building blocks to be a global digital assets and innovation hub. With its dynamic open economy, deep capital markets, and extensive talent pool, it is already a global financial services hub. Through leveraging the power of digital assets in financial services, the UK can unlock additional economic growth, enhance financial inclusion and consumer protection, and secure its position as an internationally competitive financial center. What's crazy about this is, this isn't some major player writing this. This is a blockchain-based company writing this article. But it reads as if this is coming from a massive name that's saying, all right, well, we're going to be working with them to make sure that we can advance all of this and ensure that the UK is a leader. To me, when we really look at what's happening here, Ripple is playing a very interesting role. Now, just right off the rip, we do have that Ripple has played a leading role in advocating for digital asset growth and regulation in the US, and we are keen to continue our work with the UK government to help it achieve its aim of making the UK a world leader in digital assets. While the scope of the new task force is still to be confirmed, there are a few areas that Ripple feels would be helpful to consider. So here are some recommendations from Ripple. Stablecoins for cross-border settlement. Wow, big surprise there. Eligibility of tokenized collateral. This is all based around wholesale markets, unlocking efficiency in repo, margin, and settlement operations. Cross-border equivalence for intermediaries, establishing reciprocity between the UK and the US regimes to enable licensed crypto intermediaries to operate across both markets without duplicative requirements, and then also proportionate and coordinated rules for industry participants as well. And this is ensuring crypto firms and other financial institutions engaging in crypto, such as banks and payment firms, have access to harmonized fit-for-purpose requirements rather than a patchwork of inconsistent rules. And what's crazy about this is that it feels as if Ripple is driving a lot of this. It feels as if Ripple is in the driver's seat. Maybe it's just me, but this is proof that Ripple is not just your typical blockchain-based company. They are an enabler in this market. They are enabling massive moves happening around crypto. I said this about the US as well. I really do think that Ripple has a much larger hand in play right now, and we need to focus on these key areas because it feels as if ROUSD and additional stablecoins are going to grow in a big way in these areas like the UK, for an example. And this is where trillions are moved every single day in a plagued, extremely outdated system that needs to be upgraded. And that's where stablecoins come into play. That's where DLT and blockchain are the main focus here. So with that being said, the UK is ready. Ripple is already there. They're already making sure that this becomes a reality. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.